from the WDWL TV Multiplex, live from the Grumpy Studio. We bring you the pride of the station, the Two Grumpies, starring the grumpy old man, me, and the grumpy vulture. Would you like to take your bow? Take your bow. Oh, very nice, very nice. Okay, back in your corner. Yeah, back in your corner. He always wants to sit up front. He knows better. Greetings, friends. And how are you doing tonight? Oh, Grumpy has been Eaglette watching. And today on the FOBBV, FOBBV cam out in Big Bear, I found a different camera. Oh, this one's even going to be better because we have two eagles sitting on 3 eggs waiting to hatch. Yes, and I hope all 3 are viable. Yes, rather than watching, another set of baby eagles doing nothing but shitting and eating, I discovered out in Big Bear they have multiple cameras like they do on Captiva Island. I switched to another camera today and I was like, oh, this is going to be neat because I've never caught it where there was a nesting mother sitting on eggs. Every time I happen to think of, oh, yeah, it's eagle hatching time, we already have eaglets. Well, out in Big Bear on the FOBBV cam, I have now found a nest with 2 parents, and wait till I tell you today. Oh, hilarious. Sitting on 3 eggs. Okay. Dasher and Dancer. Holy shit. I'll tell you what. I thought yesterday that they brought back a huge fish. Jesus Christ, you should have seen the 2 fish that Mom and Dad brought back today. Those suckers had to be 15 to 18 inches long. They were fucking huge. And Mom and Dad brought them back within a couple of minutes of each other because Mom no sooner dropped the fish in the nest, and here comes Dad dropping another fish in the nest. Needless to say, both Dasher and Dancer stood there and stared at the goddamn fish. They were like, oh, look, we got 2 big fish. What are we going to do here? Once Mom starts ripping the fish apart and there's pieces all over the nest, those 2 birds will snatch them right up. But you think that they will peck at that fish and feed themselves? No. But if Mom tears it apart, or Dad, they'll eat every scrap in that nest. Like today. Mom and Dad decided to eat one of the fish. Why not? They're working for it. And then, I don't know how you tell male and female eagles apart. I forgot to ask that question today in the chat. I'll have to ask tomorrow. Once And I'll tell you what's amazing, how they take and they can pick that fish clean. When there were two sections of the fish spine that mom or dad eventually threw out of the nest. They picked them sucker right to the bone. It's amazing how with that beak, how they can clean all them bones. They don't waste hardly nothing. Once mom and dad got done with their fish, they started feeding the two boys. And mom, at one point, she looked like a buzzsaw, pecking away at that. There were pieces flying all over. And the two boys, oh, they were snapping that shit right up. But when mom kind of stepped back to take a little rest, and the fish is laying there, you think that they would go, those two boys would peck at that and eat for themselves? No. Talk about two spoiled brats. But you should have seen oh my God, them fish were huge. I would have loved if they would have had a camera somewhere on the island watching them two eagles flying, trying to hold on to that fish to bring it back to the nest. Oh, gee, that had to be a sight to see, because, you know, they just swoop down and they grab it, and sometimes they'll get it, you know, by the head or by the middle or by the tail. To see that eagle flying with that big-ass fish, that had to be a real sight. As a matter of fact, I think I'm gonna mention that in the chat tomorrow. Is there any way they can focus a camera on the lake that the eagles are getting the fish out of? That would be neat, because today was fish day. As a matter of fact, out in Big Bear, today was fish day too. It must be on the diet for today. But out in Big Bear, oh, I'll tell you what, it was hilarious. Mom had taken off, I don't know, to go food hunting or take a break, and Dad was sitting on the nest. Mom was gone about 20 minutes. She comes back and lands on the edge of the nest, and Dad threw a shit fit. He didn't want to get off them eggs. They were chattering back and forth at one another, and she kept trying to nudge him like, get up. He didn't want to get off the eggs. I think that's going to be a sign of a real good father. If he didn't want to get off the eggs, I can imagine once those chicks hatch. I was switching back and forth between Big Bear and Florida. Tomorrow, I have to do a little construction work in the studio. I've got one of those double monitor mounts where one mounts over the other one. I already got the two monitors here. I've got to get the other small form factor computer, and I'm going to put two monitors with two computers, and that way I can watch Big Bear on one and I can watch Captiva Island on the other, because I'm really getting into this eagle watching, especially since I found the camera out at Big Bear with a nesting pair. And when Dad got up today, there were 3 eggs. So it will be interesting, first of all, to see if all 3 hatch, and in what order are they going to hatch. Are we going to have 1, 2, and 3, or two hatch and then one, or I doubt if all three will hatch at the same time, because the hatching kind of goes in the order of which they were laid. Now, if all three eggs were laid in one day, they'll probably all hatch around the same time. If one egg was laid and then 2 days later another, and then I don't know what the egg laying schedule is. But that is going to be interesting, because even last year, I didn't catch it early enough. I didn't see a hatching. So another thing I've got to do, I've got to get the computer set up so that basically if they happen to hatch at night when I'm not watching, I can get it stored on a separate hard drive, because I want to see from the first little hole that the chick pecks to cracking out of the egg. Grumpy's turned it into a real aviary, or whatever they call bird watchers, aviatrist or something. No, I think that's a female flyer, an aviatrist. I got to find out what the terminology is for a bird watcher, because I'm going to have two monitors here. I'm going to be watching two parts of the country. Big Bear on one, Captiva Island, Florida on the other. Yeah, I'm getting into this bird watching stuff. Hang on. Little dry mouth. I got another gift today. One of my friends that knows I've got this Keurig single cup machine sent me Caribou coffee. Hold on. I have to look. I'm pretty sure it's Caribou. Yes, Caribou coffee, Caribou blend, medium roast. For those of you that don't know what a Keurig pod looks like, that's what pod coffee looks like. It comes like this, single cup. So I'm gonna try that in the morning. And usually you get a 24 in a box. This box is 32. I was like, whoa, I'm going to be in flavored coffee. I usually get the dark roast. This is medium. So we'll see what it tastes like. First of all, I'm not going to turn down free coffee, but I do prefer dark roast. Just something about me. Let me see if I have to check my pods. See if I've got one of those. Nope. I'll show you tomorrow. I've got one. I'll tell you what, it is killer coffee. Oh, God, is it delicious. It's a real eye-opener in the morning. I'm not going to give it away right now. I'd never heard of it. The neighbor that gave me the machine ordered and I don't know where she. As a matter of fact, I got to ask her because I'm almost out of this. I never heard of this brand of coffee, but I'll tell you what. Talk about ultra caffeine. Just the smell of it while it's brewing is enough to open your eyes. Oh, it's excellent coffee. Oh yeah, but I never heard of that brand. Although, if you like today, I did a coffee search. Oh my God, I was not aware of all the different companies that produce these pod coffees. Now you can get it, in bags, but there were brands of coffee I never heard of. But I'll tell you what, some of them are kind of goofy, like this one Hawaiian blend. Now it was a dark roast coffee, and it said with hints of pineapple. Blech! I don't want to drink a cup of coffee that's got pineapple flavor. Jeez. Yeah, oh man, the combinations on some of these coffees. There was another one. What the hell? It was like an espresso roast. And it said hints of mint, hints of mint and juniper berry. Who the hell thinks this shit up for coffee? Mint and juniper berry. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Am I drinking coffee or am I drinking a fruit salad? Hints of juniper berry and mint. And then, every coffee maker has a donut shop blend. It started with Dunkin' Donuts, and then Krispy Kreme has their donut shop blend. And, I just want a cup of coffee. I don't want a cup of coffee that tastes like a donut. Although, today, for years, I drank 8 o'clock coffee. Now, originally, 8 o'clock coffee was with A&P supermarkets. Well, when A&P supermarkets left Ohio, then it was like, it went from Fisher Foods to Fisher Fazios to this, and then it ended up gigantic Eaglette. Although there are other grocery stores that carry 8 o'clock coffee. Well, today I found an 8 o'clock special dark roast. So I ordered it. I'm like, oh, I got to try this because, matter of fact, I would buy the bean coffee and grind it every morning. And I'll tell you what, folks, there is nothing better than the taste of fresh ground coffee in the morning. I did that for years. Matter of fact, I still have my bean grinder. I'm just, all right, I'll admit it. I'm too fucking lazy to grind beans. Especially now since I got my Keurig single cup maker. But I'm pretty well in coffee for a while because I've got how many different flavors now? I think I got 5 different boxes of coffee. Those are all 24 pods except for the one I got today that's 32. And then, let's see, it's the 8 o'clock. Yeah, the 8 o'clock is a 24. But see, I drink coffee all day long. And I would end up wasting a lot of coffee because I'd go through a pot and then I would end up like drinking 3/4 of the second pot. Well, a lot of times I was throwing the coffee out, which is, oh my God, that's a sacrilege, throw coffee out. So what I would do, whatever leftover coffee I had, I'd put in a container and I'd put it in the fridge. And then in the morning, I'd microwave it. But making a full pot, you know, you gotta clean the basket, you gotta clean the pot, you know. I would rather just drop a pot in. It makes a cup, and then you throw the pot away, and that's it. They say every 3 months to descale the machine. I already have the descaler. And I make a 350 milliliter cup of coffee, which I think is 12 ounces. I'm pretty sure it's 12 ounces. I'm not up on my milliliters or whatever. On the measuring cup it says 350. I fill it to that line, I pour it in the machine, bingo. I have enough for a cup of coffee. Let me bump this up one more. There we go. A little more light on the subject. I discovered something today. Now, usually I don't use the white light. Well, when I'm using the colored light, I noticed one of the elements in the lamp was burned out. If I turn on the white light, all of the elements light up. Strangest thing. So, I don't know what's going on with the light, but if I use anything but white, it's a 6-element ring light. One of the elements is burned out. But if I use white, they all work. I don't know what's going on with I got to get the lighting engineers in here to figure out what the hell's going on with the lighting. Yeah, I have a ring light. It looks like a halo over my head. Oh. Yeah, like that would ever happen. Yeah, I've been looking in because daily they do updates on these 2 unfortunate aircraft incidents that happened. The one in Philadelphia and then the one in D.C. out of Reagan National Airport. It looks, preliminary finding, that the helicopter was 125 feet too high. And it ran into the side of the express jet, the RJ. That's the preliminary. Now, for the full investigation, they say it's going to take about a year. Same thing with the medical air ambulance that crashed in Philadelphia. Now, they have all the black boxes and they have the voice recorders. But they have to, they have to go through all the data, basically, frame by frame by frame by frame. But it appears right now that the helicopter was out of its flight path. It was too high. And the shame is, if it would have been at 200 feet rather than 325, it would have gone under the express jet. But I'll tell you what, that would have only left 125 feet of clearance between the two planes. That's too fucking close. Now everybody's going, well, 125 feet, that's a pretty good distance. Not in the air. And by the time the collision avoidance went off in the tower, it went off and basically bang, they hit. But the preliminary findings, it looks like the military helicopter was flying out of its flight path. It was too high, which is a damn shame. And they're still trying to determine whether they were using night vision goggles. There's going to be a lot to this investigation. They say this one could maybe even possibly take longer than a year to come to a final determination. They believe that the female pilot was flying the chopper. Preliminary. There were 3 in the helicopter. There was a primary pilot, the secondary pilot, and then there was like an observer, an instructor observer. I'm not up on all the military jargon and everything. It's just, the whole thing's a damn shame. It really is. But that is a super congested little airport. And there's just way too much traffic in and out of there. And I could see why the control tower, kind of gets overwhelmed. It's a dinky airport. It was basically built back in the 40s, when planes were, the biggest plane was about the size of a 20 passenger express jet or even smaller. So and there's no room for expansion, and it's just really an overworked airport. So there's going to be a lot of investigation into that one. And it's so sad that we lost such promising skaters on the the U.S. skating team. There were 2 or 3 that they said, even though they were 12 or 13 years old, they were gold medal quality skaters. And to lose them and the parents that were with them, it just, there were 64 on that plane. And it's just so sad. They were, like I say, they were 15 seconds from touchdown. 15 seconds. They timed it. And to be that close and that far away at the same time. Very sad. Not to mention, the air ambulance that crashed. They brought that young girl in to Shriners Hospital in Philadelphia for a life-saving procedure. And it was successful. Whatever the procedure. Almost muted myself. Yeah, whatever the procedure was, it was successful. And they were sending her home to recuperate. And that plane was only in the air 60 seconds. They think there was some sort of explosion, whether an engine blew up or whether there was a malfunction in the medical equipment. That one's going to be another lengthy investigation. Then the other day, up in one of the East Coast states, I don't know if it was Maine or Maryland, I just kind of glanced over the article. A 5-year-old boy was killed in a hyperbaric chamber explosion. Another sad, all this stuff that's going, the young girl in the plane crash and then this 5-year-old, there was some sort of malfunction and the hyperbaric chamber blew up. Now he was killed, unfortunately. His mother was injured and a couple of staff members were injured in the explosion. I never knew them suckers could blow up. It's like, geez. Yeah, I just kind of glanced over the article. I was like, oh, geez, I'm tired of reading all this bad news in the morning. Originally, I was going to do this evening like a news recap. And the more I read the news in the morning, I'm like, I'm not cut out to be a newsman. Especially, losing the young skaters, then the poor girl in the air ambulance, and then this boy in the hyperbaric chamber is like, not for grumpy. And then, speaking of the air ambulance, oh my God. There was one woman that said on the roof of her building, she found a body. And there were people that said, out in the street, they were walking over body parts. Yeah, one guy said that close to where his car was parked, it was kind of out of the way, away from the explosion. He he went to move his car, and there was a foot laying next to his car. And then another woman said when she stepped out of her house, she looked over the edge of her porch, and there was an arm. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, when that plane blew up, it just blew body parts everywhere. Although, I'll tell you what, they were extremely lucky in that area of Philadelphia, because that plane went down outside of a mall parking lot in the street. Now, yeah, when it was fully loaded with fuel, and when it exploded, houses caught on fire, cars caught on fire, debris went everywhere. But had that crashed into an apartment building, oh my God, there could have been a real disaster. But yeah, you ought to see the hole that it left in the street when it hit and blew up. There's like an 8-foot deep crater. But that's another one that's going to take, like I say, a good year to determine why it went down. It literally took off and just come right back down. 60 seconds. That's all it was in the air. 60 seconds. I just, I feel sorry for everybody on board, because when that plane started going down, they knew. They knew. They knew the end was, although it was quick, basically up and down. But what a way to meet your end. Although, for people that are worried, it is still safer to fly than to drive on the roadways. More people perish in traffic accidents. And look at take a good look at the safety record for air flight. There has not been a big major incident since that Kogan Air went down in Buffalo. And that was what, 10 years ago, 12 years ago? There have been no major incidents, so it's still safer to fly than to drive or even walk. The only disgusting thing, they were showing news clips after the plane went down in Philadelphia. And what do you see? Everybody runs out and they got a video. That's all you saw. I didn't see people running to possibly give aid. Although there was, fire everywhere. But in the areas away from the fire, that's all you saw. Everybody out there with their, we got to film this, got to put it on our social media. Oh. God, people. Give it a break. You don't have to film every goddamn thing on Earth and put it on your social media. Oh, yeah, I'm going to be the first one to show this plane crash. luckily they had enough common sense not to film body parts on the ground. Although, so far, none of that has popped up on social media. But I can guarantee people have got it filmed in their cameras. You know, putting cameras in cell phones was a hell of an idea. It really was. But cameras in cell phones weren't meant to film every goddamn thing and put it on your fucking social media. That's not why Steve Jobs put a camera in an iPhone. It was basically for taking, you know, family photos or vacation photos, not for running around to every goddamn disaster and videoing it and putting it on your social media. Give it a break, people. It's getting disgusting. Every time something happens, they got to film it. There'll be a police stop. 27 people filming the cop writing a guy a ticket for speeding. You know. You don't have to video everything on goddamn Earth, people. Give it a break. Of course, you know, some people, all they're thinking about is, hey, maybe the news media will, you know, buy this video clip from me. And some did. You know, that one Ring doorbell that caught the plane coming down and the explosion. News media, you know, they paid for that footage. Although I read today, there were 2 airport workers that got arrested for leaking security camera footage of the helicopter crash to CNN. And CNN, shame on you for buying it. Yeah, there were 2 employees that did an illegal download from the airport security camera and then sold it to the news media. Oh, God. Yeah, because they were trying to figure out how the hell CNN got that footage. Because right away they knew from the angles of the cameras that footage came from airport security cameras. And it didn't take them too long to arrest the 2 that illegally downloaded it. Because I guarantee the FCC said, hey, CNN, cough up some names. And they arrested one Sunday. I think they arrested the other one on Monday. I don't know what this world's coming to. I really don't. Although that's nothing new. It's nothing new. Since the invention of the camera, news outlets have been buying footages and photos for years. So, this ain't nothing new. It's just, why lose your job? Was it worth it? I'd like to ask those two guys, whatever CNN paid you for that video footage, was it worth your job? No. Because you're not going to have a job anymore at the airport, and you were probably making good money with a job with good benefits, to now being probably a convicted felon. I don't know if they're going to end up knocking it down to a misdemeanor and give them a plea deal. So far, there's nothing in the news about it, just that they were arrested for illegally, literally stealing video footage from airport security cameras. Grumpy did a real stupid thing today. I decided, Grumpy learned how to turn the drone on. There was a goddamn push button right on the top of the drone. It don't say on, off, or anything. There's just a little circle. A circle with a circle. That's the on-off switch. But it did not say in the instructions. I found it by accident. Because I decided somewhere there's got to be a switch. Well, right under the collision avoidance, let me show you the drone. It's easier to do it that way. Where'd I put it? Here we go. It's easier to show you. Here we go. Here's the little droney. This is the collision avoidance unit. Gives you 360. There's 4 cameras up here, or 4 sensors. Well, right here, see that? Right there. It's a circle with a line. I didn't know it was a switch. I just happened to push it. And I was like, whoa! All of a sudden it turned on, it beeped, the lights are flashing. So, Grumpy decides to give it a test flight in the studio. Now, I have not studied the instructions. So, I turn the drone on, and then I turn on the remote control. Okay, drone is sitting, running on the floor of the studio. I did not hit the button to activate the collision avoidance. I hit the button for takeoff. The drone goes up, hits the ceiling, comes right back down. I was like, oh God, I haven't even flown it and I broke the fucker. Well, luckily it didn't do any damage. Had I hit the button on the remote control for the collision avoidance, it would have just hovered. But no, it went straight up, hit the ceiling, come right down. I was like, oh, God, I haven't even flown it and I broke it. But I did test it. I hit the button for the collision avoidance. I put it on, you have two motor speeds, fast and slow. I put it on slow. I hit the button for takeoff. And it started to go up. Now, when you take off, you also have to push the joystick forward because that gives it power. So I gave it power, and then when it got about 5 foot off the floor, I let go of the joystick. When you do that, it freezes it right at that position. That's where it'll hover. And it was hovering about 2 feet from my head. I was like, whoa. And what was even neater was the camera was taking a picture of my ear. And I turned and I was like, oh, okay. And then I push auto land and it went right back down. And that was it. No more playing with it in the studio. I could have broke the son of a bitch. I couldn't believe it though. I hit the switch, up it went. Of course, the motor was on high speed too. Thing took off like a rocket. And then, bang! I was like, oh no, crash. But luckily, no damage. The drone will live to fly another day outside. Grumpy, at this age, needs to learn how to read instructions. You know, read instructions before operating. No. Once I learned how to turn it on, I was like, oh boy, I'm going to have fun with it. I had fun, all right. Right up. Right back down. Oh. When it hit the floor, I was like, I can't look. I can't look. And then I went, okay, I'm going to peek. And it was all in one piece. So I was like, oh, did I screw up the motors? So I turned it on. And it was just sitting there running on the floor. And I was like, okay, turn it off. That's it. Put it away. But I'll tell you one thing. It is going to look neat at night. Oh, the lights on that thing are unbelievable. It's got headlights, got taillights, got lights underneath. It's got lights on top of the motors. It is the coolest looking thing. I can't wait to fly it. And then the camera on the front, you can aim it. Now there's a camera underneath. You can switch cameras. So basically, if it's like hovering overhead, I can have the camera forward facing, or I can bring the camera down, or I can switch to the bottom camera, which basically, if it was right above me, would be filming the top of my head. It also comes with an SD card. So I can film the flight, which that is going to be cool. I can't wait to do that. But we're going to do it on a nice day, outside, away from everything. Yeah, I ain't taking no more no more flying in the studio. No. Oh, yeah. That thing took off like a rocket. And I mean, zap, bang, down. Oh. Powerful powerful little son of a bitch, I'll say that. But yeah, I couldn't believe I was staring at the on-off switch all along. But in the instructions, it tells you where the on-off switch is on the remote. It don't tell you where the on-off switch is on the drone. Because some of the lesser priced models, when you insert the battery, it turns the drone on. Now this one has got an on-off switch. Plus, it has a screen in the remote, so you don't have to use a cell phone. I emailed my listener who sent it to me, and I took a picture of the on-off switch. And he emailed me back, and he said, you know, I kind of wondered what that circle and a circle with a line was, but I never pushed it. I told him, I said, well, when I pushed it, on it came. And then I told him it went up and came right back down. So he's extremely happy that I learned how to turn it on and that I'll be able to play with it now. I figured he'd say, hey, send it back. But no, he emailed me back and he said he was extremely happy that I figured out how to turn it on and how to play with it. Except, don't play with it inside the studio anymore. No, not at now. Once I get accustomed to flying it, I can fly it in the studio. Because you can put it on slow speed, put it on auto takeoff, give it a little acceleration, bring it up 4, 5, 6 feet, let off the joystick, and it'll just sit there and hover. So I've got that much figured out. It's too bad I crashed the son of a bitch. Oh my God. It was up hitting the ceiling before I realized what was happening. All of a sudden, and when it hit the floor, I was like, oh no. I got to email my listener and tell him I broke the son of a bitch. But no damage. Oh, I didn't ship the propellers, nothing. I got lucky. It also goes to show it'll take a little bit of abuse because it whacked that ceiling pretty hard. Oh, God. I felt like an idiot. Although I am. Don't fly a drone in the studio. But I wanted to play with it. And of course I almost broke it. But at least now, I know how to turn it on. I know to put it on slow speed. I know how to activate auto takeoff. Hit the throttle. Let it come up. And let go of that joystick. And it'll sit right there. But once I master it, then I'll play with it in the studio. But the next time, it's going to be outside, in wide open spaces. Although I have to read how you can save the flight from the cameras on the SD card. Because that way, I can plug it in the computer and show it. That's the neat thing. With the two cameras, you can save it to the SD card. There's two functions. I read that much in the instructions. You hit one button and it will take a still photo. Or you hit the other button and it'll take the video. So I've learned that much. Besides how to turn it on and off and how to crash it. Usually you crash them outside. But it also says, before takeoff, engage auto avoidance. So I have to remember, it's that button up in the upper left-hand corner of the remote control. Hit that before takeoff. And then you won't crash into the ceiling. Oh, gee. I know it's fast, though. That much I learned. When you got it on high speed, it's quick. I'm going to have fun with it this summer. Just no more flying in the studio. Then, of course, the bird has to run down and tell the CEO, oh, Grumpy crashed his drone in the studio. And the CEO come down and goes, I heard you're flying a drone. I was like, who? Me? No. And of course, asshole here is right behind him, pulling on his pant leg like, yeah, he was flying a drone in the studio. I didn't damage anything. Look, the lights are fine. They're all okay. It didn't hit none of the goddamn ceiling lights. Goddamn rat fink bird. I'll fix him. He's not going to get to watch baby eaglets tomorrow. I'm going to put him outside and I'm going to lock the studio door. He can spend all day in the hallway. I'll fix him. Because sometime during the day tomorrow, there will be eaglets from Florida and eaglet eggs from Big Bend. Yeah, I can't wait till they hatch. Oh, I'll see a baby eaglet coming out of the egg. Oh, that's going to be so neat. Not to mention, bald eagles. America's bird. Yes, the symbol of America, the bald eagle. We got 2 in Florida that are nice and healthy, and hopefully we're going to have 3 up in Big Bend. I can't wait. Got to change this to the Eaglette channel. Just remember, it's window on wildlife, not windows. Window on wildlife. That's the Florida. And the FOBBV CAM. And there's a space between CAM. So it's FOBBV space CAM. Those are the cameras out in Big Bend. So you can alternate between the two. If you're into bird watching. I'm not a bird watcher until it comes to America's national symbol, the bald eagle. Then I'm a bird watcher because they're a very protected species. I think all the eagles are, really, but yeah, I can remember, God, 25, 30, maybe even 40 years ago, before they banned, I know one of the big substances was DDT. They used that for bug control in the crops. And it was getting, into the water table, and it was getting into the fish. And it was causing thin eggshells. And they would no sooner, lay the eggs, and then if they sat on the wrong way, they were breaking them. And the scientists determined that it was the DDT that was getting into the food source. So once they banned DDT, it took a while, but the eagles are making a comeback. I don't think they're still at strong numbers yet, but they're making a comeback. And especially the bald eagles. Oh, those chicks are so cute. They don't have their white heads yet, but they are little fluffy fur balls, or little fluffy feather balls. They are so cute. Grumpy's showing his soft side, I know. I just can't wait to see those eggs hatch. Oh boy. That's going to be the highlight of my bird watching. Seeing the eggs hatch and seeing the little eaglets, the little baby eaglets. Yeah, I didn't tune into the cameras. I should have remembered, because last year I caught it about the same time. Evidently, this is the time of the year for eggland. And the ones in Florida laid their eggs a little earlier than the ones out in Big Bend. But at least now, I can see the eagles in Florida as they grow up. And then I can see the eagles in Big Bend hatch. I can't wait to see them hatch. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah. Grumpy, you soft old son of a bitch. I just think it's cool. They're our national symbol, the bald eagle. That's mainly why I want to watch them. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah, my friend of mine said, can't you find any vulture nests? What the hell do I want to watch a vulture hatch for? I got to look at this one every day. Bad enough. I don't need to watch them hatch. I don't think they have any vulture cams. Although maybe I'll have to check into it. I'll have to gargle it tomorrow. Any vulture cams? Since this seems to be the time of the year for egg laying, maybe I'll find a vulture cam somewhere. I would tend to think there are probably bird watchers for every species. So I'm sure there's probably a vulture cam somewhere. If I find one, I'll let you know. But I'm not going to put a lot of research into it. I'd rather watch the little baby bald eagles. Didn't I like this? Cigarettes are driving me crazy. I thought for sure I would have my CT scan results today, but no. Usually I have them the next day. Nothing. Now, one of two things. Either they're backed up on reading the results, or my doctor don't want to tell me. If I don't have them tomorrow, I'm going to be calling the doctor going, hey, where's the results from my CT scan? Because Grumpy likes to know those things. Yeah. Yeah, they should have been up this morning. Hell, I went in early enough. I had the CT at noon. Gives them plenty of time to read it. Although I know they're probably understaffed, overworked, or they're arguing. You read this. No, you read it. It's a grumpy old man. I'm not reading it. Give it to Mikey. He'll read anything. Yeah, usually I have them right away. Every other test you have them within 24 hours. Nothing. I'll give it till tomorrow. Then I'll be calling the doctor going, hey, what's going on? I did my part. You got to do yours. Like my buddy said, you don't go to the hospital to get well. You go to the hospital to get sick. Yeah, I walked in the door feeling pretty healthy. I was like, hey, okay, I'm going to get the A1 checkout. I ended up with 8 different doctors and 9 different tests. And yes, I religiously took my blood pressure this morning. I did exactly the way you're supposed to. Got up. Then emptied my bladder. And then it tells you, sit down in a chair, put the wrist cuff on, have it on a level surface, and then it says, take 4 to 6 deep breaths, and then do your reading. So I did. And it was almost the same as yesterday. So far so good. I ain't telling you the numbers yet. Although they're in the okay range. Maybe just a tad on the high side, but not bad. At least according to the chart. Yeah, I got to do this every morning now. Be my new morning routine. Before, and it tells you in the instructions, before drinking any beverages, no water, no coffee, nothing. Empty your bladder, put cuff on, put arm on level surface, take 4 to 6 deep breaths, and then hit on. And then it squeezes the shit out of your wrist, your hand goes numb, and then it gives you your reading. Yeah, I'll tell you what, for a little dinky machine, Jesus Christ, does that squeeze? I was wondering, like, is it ever going to stop? Then the reading come in, I was like, Why the hell did you have to pump up so high? Yeah, it kept going and going and going and going. I see the hand turning white, blood flow leaving my hand. And then finally it shut off and gave me a reading. Jesus. Although I am getting a second machine, another wrist cup. I found one on sale with a rechargeable battery, because this one you have to get AAA batteries. I didn't pay attention. So I happened to look yesterday afternoon at Walmart, and I found a machine, wrist cuff, with a rechargeable battery. Believe it or not, $6.99. I was like, this can't be. So of course, I put it in my shopping cart. And then I hit checkout. And $6.99 plus tax. That was it. I was like, cool. So now I'll have two. One rechargeable, which I should have looked the first time. But yeah, I couldn't believe the price, $6.99. Regularly, get this, $39.99. I was like, evidently, they want to get rid of stock. They're probably not going to carry this one anymore. And that's why it's reduced. That's okay with me. $6.99 works for Grumpy. And then, I'm going to be doing a book review. I ordered a book, Nerves of Steel, written by Tammy Jo Schultz. You say, who is Tammy Jo Schultz, per se? Well, do you remember the Southwest Airlines plane where the engine exploded? She was the captain of that plane. So I ordered the book, and it came today. Now, here's the interesting thing. Here's what I was telling you, folks. You go on the used book section in Amazon, okay? I found this book, $5.50, and free shipping on Amazon in the used book section. Now, this book hasn't got a scratch on it. It's brand freaking new. The pages are still stiff. No shelf wear. Evidently it was sitting in a box. $5.50. Regularly $29.99. Now, of course, it's not, right off the press. That mishap with that Southwest jet happened, a couple of years ago. That's okay. Grumpy is, cheap. I love hardcover books. When I found out that she had written the book, I put it on my list. I was like, oh, one of these days, I'm going to get her book. Well, I went into Amazon in the used book section, and I found this $5.50. And it'll give you the condition of the book. And it said, excellent condition. No shelf wear. Still has the paper overlay cover. $5.50. And free shipping. It came yesterday afternoon. I forgot. So I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to tell you what I think of the book and what I think of Tammy Jo Schultz. Because that's horrendous. You know, you're flying along and all of a sudden a frickin' engine explodes. Unfortunately, there was a passenger that got killed because part of that engine punched a big hole in the side of the plane. But she was able to safely land it with no problem, except, you know, the poor passenger that ended up passing. But yeah, I guess she got sucked out of the damn when it blew out the window. So I'll be giving you a book review after I read it. Matter of fact, I think there's a picture in here. I kind of thumbed through it. That's not it. That's not it. I could have swore I saw a picture. Yeah, there we go. Where is it? There. There's the picture of the engine that blew up. And she was able to bring the plane under control with one engine and safely landed it. I thought there was a picture of the side of the plane. I guess not. I could have swore I saw a picture with a hole in the plane. She was a fighter pilot in the military. Oh. Yeah, look at that. Here we go. The Naval Times. So, I told you once before, if you're into reading, go on Amazon in the used book section. Now, not every book you're going to get is going to be pristine like this, but I'll tell you what, every book that I've ever ordered out of their used book section has arrived in this kind of condition. So if you're in no big hurry to read a book off, the New York Times bestseller list, give it a wait. $30 book, $5.50. There we go. I can't wait to read it. So, Grumpy's all over today. Geez, we go from news to Eaglettes to being a book reviewer. Yeah, I'm a hardcover book person. I tried the Kindle thing. I don't like it. First of all, I like having print. I like keeping them printers in a job, you know. Not to mention trying to read a book on a Kindle is like trying to do a Chinese jigsaw puzzle. Oh, I couldn't get into it. Some people, oh my God, I got a friend, she orders book after book after book on her Kindle. I can't get into that. I like having print in my hand. And I like hardcover. Now, that book did come in a softcover. I just prefer hardcover books. And for $5.50, I got the best of both worlds. I got a cheap book that's brand new. I don't need to read it as soon as it's on the New York Times bestseller list. I don't need a book that bad. But that was on my list. And the one day I just happened to be going through some paperwork and I went, oh, my book list. And I looked, $5.50. I'll order it. Now, not every book that I've ever wanted has been in that kind of condition. I did have to settle for kind of a beat up softcover one day. But that book wasn't that important to me, so it didn't bother me. Like the book I just finished reading, the autobiography of Mel Brooks. Same thing. I think I paid $6.75 or something like that for that book. The Mel Brooks book is 410 pages or something like that. When I read the description, it said, could have some shelfware. All that means is basically the bottom of the book. And nope, it came through pristine like that one. So if you're into hardcover books, go on Amazon in the used book section and you'll find a decent one like that. You'll bring up the new book. You could buy that thing brand new and pay full price. And then underneath the checkout, it says new and used books. You just click on that and it gives you a whole list. There were a few that were cheaper and there were a few that were more expensive. I don't go with the cheapest book because those could be beat up a little bit. I don't want a beat up book. So I went down, I think that was like the third or fourth one down. And it said, excellent condition. And then it did say, could have mild shelf wear. That book looks like somebody picked it up out of a box, wrapped it up, and shipped it to me. So don't be afraid to order the used books off of Amazon. Every one that I've ever ordered, A-OK. And no, Amazon ain't sponsoring me. Sponsoring. Take two. Amazon is not sponsoring the two grumpies. There. I'm just telling you where to buy brand new cheap books. Oh, oh, oh. And with that, I think we'll do an outro. I caught it. I don't know why it does that. I don't know why it does that. Here we go. Yes, we know where. The WDWL TV multiplex in the Grumpy Studio. Somewhere around 7 o'clock. I caught it close today. Well, friends, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we will meet again tomorrow night, same place, maybe around the same time. And I bid you a good night. Take care. See ya.